The nebula hung like a ghostly curtain across the void, swirling in shades of violet and cobalt, veiling the human fleet's advance from prying eyes. Starships glided silently through the starlit sea, their hulls reflecting faint glimmers of distant suns. This was the outer rim, far from the shining core worlds, where shadows held secrets darker than space itself. Admiral Kira Thorne stood on the bridge of the USS Invictus, her gaze locked on the panoramic viewscreen. The vast fleet stretched behind her, dozens of warships, frigates, and sleek fighters forming a living wall against the creeping menace. Yet the air was heavy with tension. Something unseen stirred in the depths beyond the nebula. Her comm officer's voice broke the silence, low and urgent. "Ma'am, we're picking up unusual signals, not the usual pirate chatter or mining drones. This is different." Kira narrowed her eyes. "Patch it through." Static hissed before a distorted transmission whispered into the room. It was a complex array of clicks and pulses, far too organized to be random interference. The encrypted, alien code shimmered on the tactical displays, shifting unpredictably. The fleet's lead analyst, Lieutenant Harrow, leaned forward, fingers flying across holographic keys. "This isn't just a message, it's a warning. But from whom? And why now?" Kira's voice was steady, but inside a chill ran down her spine. "Run a deep scan. I want to know everything. Source, destination, intent." Outside the Invictus, the starfield twisted unnaturally as sensors strained to pierce the nebula's veil. Something lurked there, something waiting. "Admiral," Harrow said, voice tight. "The signal matches no known species. Could be a trap." Kira's jaw clenched. The galaxy had taught her one immutable truth. When the unknown reaches out, it usually meant war. She tapped her comms. "Prepare for immediate mobilization. Alert the fleet. We cannot afford hesitation." Around her, the crew moved with practiced precision, the hum of energy and command orders swelling into a crescendo. The once silent fleet now pulsed with readiness, engines brightening, weapon systems locking onto invisible targets. Kira took a breath and glanced out once more. The swirling colors of the nebula seemed almost alive, like eyes watching, waiting. Somewhere beyond, a shadow fleet was gathering, ready to descend. "Humanity has faced darkness before," she murmured to herself, voice resolute. "We will stand, we will fight, and we will survive." As the Invictus surged forward, cutting a path through the cosmic fog, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The battle for the future was about to begin, and no one could predict how swiftly the tides would turn. The Invictus hummed through space like a predator stalking prey, its sleek frame slicing through the cosmic mist of the nebula. In the command center, the air thrummed with tension, every crew member acutely aware that the calm before the storm was razor-thin. Lieutenant Harrow's fingers danced across the holographic interface, unraveling the alien code thread by thread. The strange pulses, the whisper of an unseen enemy, twisted and turned like a living puzzle. The room grew colder, not from temperature, but from the creeping unease settling in every heart. Suddenly, the decrypted message materialized on the white central display, an ominous warning, stark and chilling in its brevity. "They come. Prepare. Resistance is futile." The words echoed in the silence that followed. An unspoken question hung heavy. Who sent this? Ally, enemy, or something else entirely? Admiral Thorne's eyes darkened. "Where's the source?" Harrow's voice dropped. "Impossible to pinpoint. The signal is bouncing through multiple relay points cloaked behind layers of interference. It's like trying to catch a shadow in a storm." Across the fleet, ships flickered with alert status. Comms channels buzzed as captains debated the meaning and intent of the cryptic warning. "Could be a warning from a faction opposed to the invading force," suggested Commander Reyes from the USS Vanguard. "Or a psychological ploy to sow panic." Kira's jaw tightened. "Or a trap to lure us into the open." Suddenly, the room's ambient lighting flickered, momentarily dimming. The starfield outside the viewport warped, an abrupt distortion rippling through space like a ripple in a still pond. Sensors screamed, Enemy ships emerging from the nebula's edge, Harrow reported, voice tense. Fast approach vectors. We've been spotted. The fleet surged into action. Engines flared, shields snapped online, and weapon bays hummed with power. The calm shattered like glass. Kira's command was sharp, precise. Form defensive perimeter. No mistakes. A young pilot, fresh-faced and steady, locked eyes with her through the comm link. Admiral, we're ready to engage. Her heartbeat quickened. This was it. The moment where courage met chaos. But then a sudden jolt rocked the Invictus. The flagship's lights flickered. Consoles beeped warnings. Impact detected. Electromagnetic pulse. Enemy disruptors, Harrow shouted. Communications are partially down. The bridge plunged into semi-darkness, red emergency lights casting long shadows over determined faces. Kira's voice cut through the tension like steel. Hold formation. We don't break. We don't falter. The enemy's silhouettes sharpened against the nebula's glow, sleek, alien vessels bristling with weapons, moving with lethal intent. A cold certainty settled in Kira's gut. This battle would come faster and harder than anyone had expected. The message was clear. Humanity's reckoning had begun. The jump point shimmered ahead like a gateway forged from liquid starlight, a swirling vortex bridging the vast gulf between distant systems. One by one, ships from every corner of humanity's reach poured through, their hulls cutting streaks of silver fire across the void. The Invictus led the charge, a colossal beacon of resilience blazing through the cosmic darkness. Admiral Kira Thorne stood again on the bridge, the hum of engines vibrating through the steel beneath her feet. Around her, crew members bustled with energy, mechanics tightening bolts, pilots running final simulations, officers poring over battle maps projected mid-air. The weight of impending conflict hung thick, but so did an unbreakable spirit. Status. Report, Kira commanded, eyes scanning the room. Lieutenant Harrow's voice was steady but edged with urgency. Fleet strength at 85%. Pilots prepped. Weapon systems calibrated. We're ready to face whatever waits beyond the jump. Yet beneath the efficiency, an undercurrent of unease rippled through the fleet. Among the seasoned veterans, whispers floated, rumors of alien technologies unlike any recorded, weapons that bent physics itself. The enemy was no ordinary foe. In the hangar bay, fresh-faced recruits tightened their harnesses, hearts pounding beneath polished armor. For many, this was their first battle, their first taste of war. But the steel in their eyes told a different story, one of fierce determination, forged by the shared knowledge that humanity's survival hung in the balance. The fleet's captains gathered in the war room, a circular chamber lined with glowing star charts and battle simulations. Commander Reyes stood among them, voice resolute. We face overwhelming odds, he said, voice carrying the weight of experience. But remember what makes us human, our adaptability, our will, our unity. Together, we are more than machines of war. We are the light against the dark. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Plans were reviewed and revised. Every ship, every pilot, every soldier had a part to play in the unfolding saga. Back on the bridge of the Invictus, Kira allowed herself a brief moment of reflection. She recalled the faces of those lost in past skirmishes, the sacrifices made in the shadows to keep humanity's flame alive. The memory steeled her resolve. Prepare to jump, she ordered, voice clear and unwavering. The stars outside blurred, stretched into lines of pure light as the fleet slipped through the jump gate. For a moment, silence reigned. The quiet, before chaos. Then, on the far side, the vast enemy armada emerged, an endless sea of hostile vessels, their dark forms glinting with deadly intent. The space between became a battlefield, the stage set for a war that would echo through the ages. Kira's heart thundered. The human fleet was not just fighting for survival. They were charging into legend. The void erupted into chaos as the enemy armada loomed like a dark storm on the horizon. Thousands of alien warships spilled from the shadows, sleek and merciless, their weapons primed to unleash devastation. The silence shattered under the roar of engines and the crackle of laser fire. Admiral Kira Thorne gripped the command rail aboard the USS Invictus, her eyes sharp beneath the glow of the battle holograms. Around her, the bridge pulsed with controlled frenzy, pilots shouting target coordinates, engineers fine-tuning shield frequencies, tactical officers calculating trajectories in real time. "Engage on my mark," Kira commanded, voice cutting through the cacophony. "Let's show them why humanity never backs down." Like a tempest unleashed, the human fleet surged forward, precision strikes weaving through the alien formations. Plasma blasts streaked across the void, explosions blossoming like supernovae as enemy ships fractured and burned. The fleet's legendary coordination was on full display, each maneuver a dance of lethal grace and deadly intent. But the enemy was no mere target practice. Alien vessels shifted tactics, breaking formation, unleashing unpredictable bursts of energy that forced human ships into frantic evasions. A missile barrage struck the Invictus's starboard flank, sending a jarring shockwave through the flagship. "Shields holding at 60%, reported Lieutenant Harrow, voice tight. "But incoming fire is intensifying." Kira's gaze hardened. "Divert power to forward defenses. Keep us in the fight." Amid the chaos, a young fighter pilot known only as Jax darted through the firefight with reckless precision. His ship weaved between enemy lasers, launching disruptor charges that crippled the alien vessels one by one. On the comm, his voice crackled with adrenaline. "Target locked on flagship cannon, taking the shot." The flagship's weapon system surged to life, a brilliant glow building behind its armored hull. Jax's strike hit true, creating a chain reaction that crippled the enemy's command cruiser at the center of the swarm. Suddenly, a deafening silence fell over the bridge as the enemy flagship erupted in flames, shattering their formations. Cohesion. The human fleet seized the moment, pressing the attack with relentless ferocity. Yet the battle was far from over. New enemy squadrons emerged from hidden jump points, their ships faster and deadlier. Kira's mind raced. This fight demanded every ounce of human ingenuity and courage. "Hold formation. Adapt and overcome," she roared. "We're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting for every world, every life that depends on us." The battlefield blazed with fire and steel, a cosmic storm where legends would be forged. And as the Invictus carved a path through the darkness, one thing became clear: humanity's heart beat stronger than any alien weapon. The space between the fleets grew smaller by the heartbeat, every second laden with the weight of impending doom. On the bridge of the USS Invictus, alarms blared, red lights bathing the crew in urgent glow as the flagship powered its most devastating weapon, the Nova Cannon. A humming, terrifying promise of annihilation. Admiral Kira Thorne's eyes narrowed on the charging weapon's core, a swirling vortex of raw energy contained within shimmering fields. The cannon's buildup was a marvel of human engineering, capable of obliterating entire squadrons in a single pulse. But it came with a risk. The energy surge would drain the Invictus's systems, leaving it vulnerable for precious moments. "Status," Kira barked, voice sharp like a blade. Lieutenant Harrow's fingers flew across the console, sweat gleaming on his brow. "Nova cannon charging at 85%. Shields at 54. Enemy closing fast, too fast." Outside, the alien armada surged forward, relentless and cold. Their sleek ships glinted malevolently as they closed ranks, weapons trained, to crush the human fleet before the cannon could fire. The bridge fell into tense silence. Every breath, every heartbeat seemed amplified. 10 seconds to fire, Harrow announced. "Power levels dropping. We can't hold much longer." Kira's mind raced. If the cannon missed or if the enemy shattered their defenses early, the entire fleet could be lost. But retreat was not an option. Her gaze snapped to the tactical display, tracking one of the alien command ships, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons and shields. Taking it down meant breaking the enemy's spine. "Target locked," the weapons officer confirmed. "Ready on your command, Admiral." "Hold. Hold." Kira's voice was steel wrapped in silk. The seconds stretched like eternity. 3, 2, 1. Fire! A blinding pulse exploded from the Invictus, a starburst of light that ignited the darkness. The Nova cannon's shockwave rippled across the battlefield, tearing through enemy ships with terrifying precision. Vessels disintegrated mid-flight, their hulls melting into cosmic dust. The dreadnought shuddered violently, then exploded in a cascade of fire. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Kira's eyes remained sharp. The enemy was stunned but not defeated. Smaller ships swarmed around the Invictus, seeking to exploit the brief vulnerability. Shields failing. "We're taking heavy fire," Harrow warned. Kira's fingers flew over controls. "Divert all power to shields and engines. We will not fall here." Outside, the Invictus danced through a hailstorm of plasma bolts, the hull groaning under the strain. But the human fleet surged forward, inspired by the flagship's desperate resilience. The seconds after the Nova blast felt like a lifetime. Then, as the enemy armada reeled, the human fleet pressed the advantage, laser and missile strikes raining down in a symphony of destruction. The galaxy had witnessed something extraordinary. In mere moments, humanity had turned the tide. But Kira knew this was no victory, only the opening salvo in a war that would demand every ounce of strength and spirit. The aftermath was a graveyard of stars. Blackened hulls drifted silently through the void, twisted metal glowing faintly against the endless dark. The once proud enemy armada was shattered, but the cost was written in every scarred ship and every fallen comrade. On the bridge of the Invictus, the atmosphere had shifted. The fierce roar of battle was replaced by a haunting silence, punctuated only by the steady beep of critical systems and the heavy breaths of a battle-weary crew. Admiral Kira Thorne stared at the wreckage field spread across the tactical display, a sprawling maze of destruction and loss. The faces of her crew bore exhaustion and grief, but also an unyielding determination. "Status report," she demanded quietly. Lieutenant Harrow's voice was strained. "Casualties high. Several ships lost or severely damaged. Survivors scattered. Outside, rescue shuttles darted among debris, pulling fragments of life from the cold void. Each recovered pilot and soldier was a small victory, a fragile spark amid the ruins. But the enemy was not silent. In the shadows of scattered wrecks, alien vessels regrouped, scarred but far from broken. Their commanders, hidden behind damaged bridges, barked desperate orders. The war was far from over. Kira's calm crackled to life. "Admiral, we've intercepted chatter. Enemy factions are fracturing. Internal dissent is growing." Her eyes narrowed. The threat was evolving, splintering into unpredictable danger. The calm was deceptive. In the quiet moments, memories surged, faces lost, promises made, sacrifices paid in full. A young pilot who had taken his last flight, a squadron leader who'd gone down with her ship, the countless nameless heroes who fueled the human spirit. "We fight not just for survival," Kira said softly, voice carrying through the room, "but to honor those who cannot fight anymore. We stand on their shoulders and we carry their light forward." Her words kindled a quiet fire among the crew, a reminder that victory was not simply measured in ships destroyed, but in the resilience to rise again. Yet beyond the immediate grief, a shadow loomed. Intelligence reports hinted at a deeper enemy, strategy, one that extended beyond the battlefield and into the heart of human civilization. Kira's jaw tightened. Prepare for potential counterattacks, strengthen all outposts and shield critical infrastructure. The Invictus's crew moved with renewed purpose, rebuilding, repairing, and readying themselves for the war still to come. As debris slowly drifted away on unseen currents, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, like silent witnesses to humanity's enduring flame. In this silence amidst the fallen, a new resolve was born. The war was far from over. The distant stars flickered like wary eyes as the Invictus led the battered human fleet toward the heart of the conflict. The scars of battle still marked their hulls, but the crews carried a fierce determination, etched in every grim glance. Every measured breath, Admiral Kira Thorne stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the unfolding holographic map. Intelligence had confirmed it. The enemy's hidden stronghold, a colossal fortress carved into the jagged rings of a dead planet, loomed ahead. It was the heart of the alien war machine, a place where victory or oblivion would be decided. Enemy forces are consolidating here, Harrow said quietly, fingers tracing the battlefield's twisted lines. Their reinforcements, weapons stockpiles. This is where they'll make their final stand. The silence that followed was heavy. The fleet braced itself for a confrontation unlike any before. Suddenly, sensors detected unusual energy readings, faint, rhythmic pulses. Harrow's brow furrowed. They're activating something ancient, a weapon or worse. Kira's jaw tightened. Prepare for anything. This fight will test everything we are. The fleet slipped into orbit, shadows lengthening over the planet's cracked surface. The fortress blinked with cold lights, defensive turrets swiveling to lock on the human ships. But more alarming were the strange gravitational fluctuations, a subtle distortion twisting space itself. Enemy forces deploying, Reyes reported from the vanguard. Drones swarming from hidden bays. The sky ignited with flashes as swarm. Fighters and drones burst into battle, a buzzing cloud of destruction. The human fleet responded with synchronized precision, turning the void into a storm of fire and steel. Yet deeper within the fortress, something stirred. The rhythmic pulses intensified, vibrating through the very bones of the planet. Kira watched, the reading spike, a low hum resonating through the Invictus's hull. Whatever it is, it's coming online, Harrow warned. We don't have much time. Suddenly, the fortress emitted a blinding pulse of energy, a shockwave that rippled through space, momentarily distorting the stars. Human ships lurched violently, shields flickering under the assault. Damage. Reported across the fleet, shouted the communications officer. Power fluctuations, system failures. Kira gritted her teeth. Divert all power to shields and countermeasures. We cannot let this break our line. As the Invictus surged forward, the alien fortress unleashed its full fury, waves of plasma and focused energy bolts raining down in deadly arcs. The battle reached a fever pitch, a desperate struggle of wills and technology. Amid the chaos, Kira's voice rang clear over the comm. This is humanity's moment. Stand strong. Fight for every star, every life. We will not be broken. The War fortress, ancient and merciless, seemed to pulse with dark intelligence. Yet beneath its shadow, the human spirit burned brighter than ever. The final stand had begun. The battlefield was a maelstrom of fire and shadow as the Invictus led the charge toward the alien fortress. Energy blasts streaked through the void, illuminating the swirling darkness with violent bursts of light. The fortress loomed ahead, a dark monolith pulsing with malevolent power, its defenses relentless and merciless. Admiral Kira Thorne's eyes burned with unyielding resolve. The entire human fleet had rallied for this final assault, engines roaring in perfect synchronization like thunder echoing across the stars. Lock all weapons on the main fortress core, she commanded, voice sharp and unwavering. This ends, now. The fleet surged forward, a living tidal wave of steel and light. Fighters darted between colossal warships, weaving deadly patterns of attack. Missile barrages tore through enemy lines, explosions blooming like deadly fireworks in the void. But the fortress answered with fury, its defenses intensifying. Giant turrets erupted, energy beams slicing through space, seeking to shred the human advance. Shields on human vessels flickered under the relentless assault. Kira's heart pounded as the Invictus closed in. Prepare to fire the Nova cannon, she ordered. Synchronize with all fleet weapons. The second stretched taut as the massive weapon powered up, its core glowing brighter and hotter than a dying star. Across the fleet, weapon systems aligned, focusing every ounce of firepower on the fortress's heart. Now, Kira shouted. A cataclysmic pulse exploded from the Invictus, cascading through the fleet's coordinated assault like a supernova of destruction. The fortress shattered, fractured by the combined fury of humanity's finest technology. Sections of the alien stronghold disintegrated in brilliant cascades of fire and debris, the very bones of the planet trembling beneath the impact. Enemy ships exploded in rapid succession, unable to withstand the overwhelming assault. In mere seconds, the once imposing armada was reduced to drifting shards and burning wreckage. The bridge erupted in stunned silence, broken only by the crackling of comms as survivors reported their triumph. Kira exhaled slowly, a fierce smile breaking through the exhaustion. "We did it," she said softly, voice filled with the weight of sacrifice and victory. Yet even as cheers rose, Kira's gaze turned outward, toward the endless expanse of stars. The war had been won, but the galaxy was vast, and the shadows, ever lurking. "We fight not because war is glorious," she said quietly, "but because humanity's light must never be extinguished. This victory is ours, but the fight for our future continues." Around her the crew stood taller, hearts alight with hope forged in the crucible of battle. The human fleet had charged in, and in seconds they had obliterated an enemy that once seemed invincible. Humanity's story was just beginning.